Hello, hello. Welcome. I'm Bonnie Lowe Kramen, your host of Heads Together. And I welcome everyone onto the show, and especially my assistant here, Jennifer Wilner. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Bon. How's it going down there in Florida?
Oh my gosh. You know, it feels like every week when we come on Heads Together that there's some new drama in the world, and certainly weather is the one this week, isn't it?
You are not kidding.
Pardon?
You're not kidding.
I'm here in Northeast Florida, and Hurricane Elsa is bearing down, although I think we're going to be okay. This set might look a little different to everyone if you're a regular onto the show. We're getting ready to Be the Ultimate Assistant in these next couple of days. So this is our transformed television studio in the office. And one of our students is coming to us virtually from the west coast of Florida. And of course, they're getting slammed right now. And Jen, what's happening in Jersey?
Jersey's currently 95 degrees, but last night we had hail this big. No joke.
Oh my gosh.
Quarter size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds for about 3 hours.
I never saw hail until I was in Texas. And it was just like the weirdest thing in the world. Hey, Beth, welcome onto the show. We're happy you're here, and hopefully you're not going to get slammed with Hurricane Elsa in Maryland. We have friends out in the West Coast and with unbelievable heat, and really excited to have a guest on the show today, a surprise guest, and we're going to bring her on in just a few minutes. Welcome, Debbie Richards, coming from Colorado. Our guest happens to be from Colorado today. Hey, Sharon. A couple of weeks ago, well, first of all, before we move on to what happened a couple of weeks ago, I just want to say to any of you experiencing extreme weather right now, Jen and I are sending wishes for just to ride through this and to come through it safely. It feels like every part of the country is having to batten down the hatches right now. So just please be careful and safe, and let people know on social media that you're okay, because sometimes when the power goes out, the only thing that's working is your text messaging. Okay, so be safe. 2 weeks ago, Jen and I celebrated 1 year of doing Heads Together. So we gave away some scholarships, and I didn't share who won those scholarships, and I hope they're on the show today. Hey, Dusty, welcome. And hi, Terry and Jerry. Really welcome onto the show. Have a really great show today. And I thank all of you for coming back, since I practically choked to death last week. I was so sick. Boy, besides weather, the drama of being so sick, and I was coughing my head off. Our scholarship winners. Be the Ultimate Assistant On Demand was one. I chose 3 winners. I can never just choose one. We have Jackie Lieb, won Be the Ultimate Assistant On Demand, Terry Mullen, Jen Packard. And 2 of our listeners on Heads Together won B2A Virtual for these next 2 days that we're going to be teaching. Vicki Evans and I are going to be teaching this class. And the winners I chose 2 winners, Leslie Sanders and Kimberly Salzburn. So congratulations to all of the winners. Welcome onto the show, Sandy Knott and Adrian. Sandy's hoping that I feel better, and I definitely do this week. And I feel happy that we have a guest with us today, because because I'm still congested here in part. So, okay. Today's show was going to be about something totally different until Monday, when our guest published a blog on LinkedIn that, when I read it, she is a close friend and I know a lot about our guest. And when I read her blog, it blew me away. The blog is called I'm a Recovering Workaholic, and it is by none other than Monique Hellstrom. Now, Jen read it, Jen, what workaholism is a subject that is often talked about and very relatable. And as we're talking, ladies and gentlemen who are on the show today, if you can put in your questions and comments about workaholism, you are welcome to do that. Monique is our guest. We're going to bring her out in just a sec. But Jen, you have something to say about workaholism, don't you?
Yeah. So I think most people would associate it with those of us that are older and in the workplace, whether it's home or in an office.
Yeah.
I have permission to share that our 18-year-old Alexis, who's in college, she is what we call a high functioning. She developed as a workaholic in high school, working in productions and traveling into the city and working on multiple productions as all kinds of positions, stage manager, assistant stage manager, things like that. And very scholastically working extremely hard in school.
Right.
She wasn't paying attention to her exercise routine that she was supposed to be doing and her mental health. And she was diagnosed just about when the COVID came with AMPS, which is amplified muscular pain syndrome. And if you know anything about fibromyalgia as an adult, that's pretty much what AMPS is like. Your pain.
Wait, how old is she?
She's 18. This started when she was 17. So you remember the conversation.
I do. Is it under control now? Is it under control now?
It's more under control. Exercise has a lot to do with how she feels. And so today she's allowed to tell me that she has a flare-up today because she had to get another vaccination. And that just sent like everything through the roof.
Oh, goodness. So workaholism is not only, it's not only a certain age group, it's teenagers too. And, I knew that she was very motivated to get straight A's and, you're very proud of her. Wow, Jen, and thank Alexis for sharing, and hopefully you will share the recording with her. Well, thank you, Jen.
Of course.
I have to tell you that I read Monique's blog, and Jen is going to put the link in the chat, because for those of you who have not read this blog, it blew me away. The photographs in it, the honesty in it, and it's so relatable, so powerful, and so brutally honest. Without further ado, please welcome Monique Hellstrom.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, Bonnie.
Welcome to your third time on Heads Together, Missy.
Can I be here all the time? I just love it here.
I think that you might have the record for being on the most. Maybe Vicky is up there too, though, besides me and Jen. But welcome and congratulations on such a beautiful piece of writing.
Thank you.
How did it happen? Like, I had no idea. Monday was National Workaholics Day. Tell the story. Help us.
Monday was National Workaholics Day. And I had seen this come up. I'm kind of a fan of random days. Today's lasagna day or this day or that day. And I saw National Workaholics Day and looked at the description of it. And I cannot describe what happened immediately after, but I was in a bad mood for the entire day. And I was frustrated and I was mad at myself and I was blaming myself and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And it took me to see what I was like, I'll put a post out about it. And it took me to open up that screen again for all of the things that I knew to come flooding back into my brain and for it to come up to the top. And I had to write this blog. I had to get this out. I have to help people.
So what did you write?
So what did I write? So I started with a story that I'm going to share now, and you obviously can read it in the blog, but I'm going to share an abridged story, mostly because this was not my first story of being medically harmed because of my workaholism. I wish I could tell you that this was the first time this happened and it was the last time that it happened, but it was neither of those two. Simon and I had been traveling, one of our million travel trips that we had been on. I think I was gallivanting around Spain before I came home. And I came home from this trip, excited as I always was, had a couple of days at home like usual. And, you know, when you come home, as you well know, Bonnie, you come home and you book all your appointments in a little period of time because you've only got a couple of days while you're home. And I wasn't feeling sick, but I also was extremely disconnected from my body. And I was very connected to what was going on here, and I'm connected to what's going on here. But I largely ignored what was going on below my neck. I didn't need it. I needed what was in here. I didn't need what was down there. So I ignored it. I could do it. I could do anything. I'm incredible. I'm a superhero. I'm an EA. I could do anything I want. And so I went to the doctors in the same workaholism behavior I usually was, notebook in the pocket, pen in the hand, half paying attention to people, emailing, got to get another email, check this thing, do that thing. And I very distinctly remember them taking blood from my left arm while I'm typing on my right arm, and almost frustrated that it was taking so long for them to take my blood because I needed two hands to text. And I just remember getting all these emotions during this day, like, what are you doing? I have things to do, people. I'm important. And the doctor very calmly walked in the room with her assistant, and I'm looking at these two, and they're coming very close to me, and they say, we're putting you in a taxi cab. We think you're about to have a heart attack. You're going to the emergency room right now. I said, what are you talking? I said, look at me. What are you talking about? I'm fine. And she showed me my EKG. And then she showed me the EKG of people that have heart attacks, and they were pretty similar. So I begrudgingly got into the car, even though I had conference calls later that day, begrudgingly got into the taxi cab, trying to determine which conference calls I could have and which ones I had to move, because I knew the emergency room would take a long time. I got through the process, texting. Simon was the first person I called. Kim from my CEO was the second person I called. I don't think I actually told my family that I was there until I had been there for a few hours. It didn't even dawn on me.
To tell your family.
To tell my family. It more dawned on me to tell my work in case they missed me, in case I didn't answer something right away. So everyone would know that I was being occupied. And went to the emergency room, a barrage of tests. Nobody knew what was going on. People were coming in and out. And you know how that is. You're getting annoyed. And this beautiful, I'll never forget this woman. I don't actually even remember her name, but she was stunningly gorgeous, walked in my room, took my iPhone out of my hand, but not, she looked at me as if to say, I'm helping you, and took it right out of my hand, put it on the ground and said, come on, sweetheart, let's go. And we started walking to get my MRI, which I had never had before. And I'm shuffling to the MRI room, holding my little robe shut and all of that, thinking about my phone, thinking about, is somebody going to take my phone? Is my phone safe? Are the emails in there okay? What's going to happen? This is what I'm thinking on my way to the MRI. And as you'll read in the blog, she got me to the door, handed me over to another nurse, pointed to my phantom hand that was holding a phantom iPhone, and said, this isn't worth this, and pointed to the sign on the side of the wall that said MRI. She said, I want you to think about that before you come back to this again. No one had ever really told me that I was harming myself. Nobody told me.
How old were you? How old were you?
2017, so 4 years ago, so I was 38. This is not a long time ago.
Mhm.
And again, this was not my first experience. This was my third bout with pneumonia in 5 years. And I still didn't stop. And I sat in that waiting room to get my MRI, and I sobbed. I sobbed because she was right. I sobbed because I knew I had done this to myself. I had placed all of my worth and value into my work. I sobbed because I didn't know who Monique was if she wasn't working. I didn't know what my identity was. I knew what my professional identity was: chief of Simon Sinek, executive producer, executive assistant. I knew this, but I didn't know who Monique was, and I didn't know what Monique needed, and I didn't care. So I just kept going. This instance knocked me off my horse, off my feet, all of the colloquialisms that we want to share. This was my aha. This was the time I said, this has to stop. I'm 38 years old and I am on the verge of a heart attack. I cannot do this any longer. And I had to stop. And it was hard. It was hard to stop because this is a compulsion. This is not a passion. This is not a command. No one was commanding me to do this. No one was telling me to do it. And it's not a requirement to succeed. This was me compulsively putting all of my value, my intention, and my attention into my work, because that's where I'm valuable. Me just being Monique, it's not valuable enough. I'm more valuable here. And, you know, the word workaholism comes from alcoholism. They coined that term from that name, from alcoholism, from the compulsion to drink. It's the same compulsion. And so it took me a while, it took me the last 4 years for me to realize really what was going on. And it is a number of factors that is increasing the level of our workaholism in America today, and especially in America. This is rampant throughout the world, varying levels, a lot in Norwegian areas. In Sweden, they have a very high workaholism turnover, you know, some of the lower ones in other countries, but it is rampant throughout the entire country. And it is a part having to do with society. So I'm going to get to my part in it because, you know, I'm always talking about where we can do the changing. But I'm going to start with the messages that we hear in the world. The term workaholism was only coined in 1971. We didn't have workaholics before then, necessarily. And we've deemed it many different words since then. Hustle culture and extreme workism. We have all these newfangled words for it. But I think it started with the American dream and the obsession with the American dream, the obsession with stuff. The American dream was you get the big house, you get the things, you have the car, you have stuff, and you are able to use the stuff. So I wanted stuff. We all like stuff. And so I think that's where the American dream got wrapped up in this wheel of constant doing. Don't be, just do, and get closer to that American dream. It's on social media. It's on all of our advertisements. If you really pay attention to the advertisements you're seeing these days, it's about how whatever they're selling to us can help us live shorter so that we can work more. We can hire someone to walk our dog. We can hire people to deliver and make our food. We can even have someone find us our match, our soulmate in the world. We can have someone else do all that work for us so that we don't have to put attention to these things, so that we can work more. It's an unbelievable wheel and cog that we are in at the moment. And it's almost become a contest within various communities. I've heard it in the EA community for the last 10 years. We use it as a badge. You know, we put it at the top of every single email that we had. I'm so sorry for the delay in getting back to you when they emailed us yesterday. I've got so many projects that I'm working on. We flaunt our workaholism. I have heard of people who write emails during the day and hold them until nighttime so that they can send them after hours so that people think they're working after hours. So it looks like they're being a workaholic. This is unbelievably damaging. This is unbelievably damaging to us as humans, because what this now does is sink our value into work, which is telling us that we as humans, just being who we are not valuable enough. And I used to call it the value meter. When I first started speaking, I used to say, I have this value meter in my head, and hopefully you guys can relate, where every morning I wake up and I would start at 0 every morning. It was a race to the end of the day. You'd start up and you are empty, and you have to accomplish and accomplish and accomplish. And you get to the end of the day and it is never good enough. And you wake up the next day and you are at 0 again. And I saw this meter in my head, who I'm comparing myself to, who's working more, who has more success than I do. Oh, they must be working more. And then we see movies like The Social Project or whatever that was with Mark Zuckerberg, and it talks about how much he worked. And look at what he has. So Mark Zuckerberg worked 80 hours a week, and look, he's a quadrillionaire. So that must mean that this is right, which it's not. It is not the way to go. It also allows us to judge other people, because we get to point fingers and we go, oh, I'm working all the time. This person isn't working all the time. Are you going to get back to me? Are you going to give me the board minutes? And again, I want to go back to this as a compulsion. There is a big difference between working hard and working long hours and being a high performer and workaholism. They are different. It is the difference between getting a job done because a project or a job has to get done, so we put in hours in order to complete a thing, as opposed to the compulsion to stay busy. Stay busy, keep going, keep working, keep doing things over and over and over again. It is the difference between working so that we can take pride in our work, or working for recognition, validation, and acknowledgement. It is the difference between working because we want to and being able to switch off. Every article that you read, the real true innards of workaholism is the ability to switch off. Because there are hard workers and there are high performers, but when they're done the task at hand and that project is done and turned in, they can switch it off, go back home, and know that they're valuable outside of work, which workaholics don't have that. We constantly feel the need to feed that monster over and over and over again.
Hey, Mo,
yeah.
take a look at what's on the screen. Debbie was having a heart attack. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up.
It's true.
You can't.
You can't.
Can I break in to just ask you a couple quick questions based on our conversation the other morning? Mm-hmm. What's your answer when assistants say to you, I love my work, that's why I work so hard?
Again, that's a difference. That's passion. And that is okay if you're telling the truth. If it's truthful. If you are passionate about what you're doing and you mean it and you want to put the time in, that is the difference.
You said something back to me. You said,
oh, work will not love you back.
Yeah. Say that again.
Work will not love you back.
Yeah.
It's true.
I mean, that knocked me out. And when you look back at your 30s, because that story you told what happened when you were 38, you said something about your 30s that knocked me out too. What is that?
I have very little memories of my 30s. I barely remember them. I remember my trips. I remember my work. I remember getting 3 books onto the New York Times bestseller list. I don't really remember much of my person, of me. What did I do? I barely remember some of my relationships that I sort of had in the middle of this workaholism period.
You also shared that Simon was aware of your workaholism.
Absolutely.
Can you share that story?
Absolutely. You know, when I first started with him, he knew I was a workaholic. I'm an Army kid. I would talk about it a lot. I always worked a lot, blah, blah, blah. But it did become a dangerous ism. When it becomes an ism, alcoholism, workaholism. When there's an ism, it's dangerous. It causes depression. It causes anxiety. It causes attention deficit disorder. It causes OCD. You have higher divorce rates. And honestly, he noticed that I was not right, that I would be off. He would ask me something and I would snap, or I would yell, or I would be angry, or I would cry at something that I didn't really need to. And it started off as a joke, and there's some pictures up there of various airplane rides that we would take, and I would be working the entire 14 hours of a plane ride to Australia or something. And it got to the point where he would withhold money from me if I continued to work, because he was worried about me. And I want to make this abundantly clear. This was not Simon telling me to work. This had nothing to do with Simon. This was me putting all of my intention and attention to work, because that's where I thought my value was. This had nothing to do with him. And he was worried about me a lot. He had a couple of times with me that he sat me down and was worried. And it got to the point where he actually said to me, I'm not getting my bonus. If I don't work a normal work week for December, I wasn't allowed to get my bonus, because he knew the danger this was going to cause. He knew this was coming. I ignored it. I ignored all the signs. And that's kind of what I want to say today. This is what I want to implore, is that your body is telling you things. You have to pay attention. We have a very big disconnect from this part down and this part up in the world today. We have lost touch with our feeling, with our body telling us to change, to do something about it. And I mean it: depression, anxiety, heart attack, stress. They have coined a term. There's a Japanese term called karoshi, and the literal definition is overwork death. Death by overworking. It is a huge statistic in Japan right now. Most of their deaths come from malnutrition, not eating, so working so much. And they actually have that term, karoshi, for that. And again, I want to implore, this is extremely dangerous for us, for our health, and it is something that we and only we can change. Because workaholism is an internal thing. There are two parts to it. There's the behavior of workaholism, and then there's the psychological part of it. And the psychological part of it feeds the behavior. So we need to change that. We need to, at the very least, the recommendation that I will give you is to value your non-work life as much as your work life. And I'm going to start with the lowest common denominator. I'm not telling you to put your non-work life above, because that seems so hard. It seems like such a stretch. Just equal them out. What if they were equally as valuable to you and you were equally as valuable in both of those situations? What would you do then? So I have lots of tips, and there's a few of them in my blog. But I really want to implore that this is dangerous. And as Jen was telling us earlier, this is happening in our younger generation. And if we don't stop this, we're going to create another generation of workaholics.
Right. Can you share something about your life now, though, Mo? You know, you're in Colorado, you're in Denver, and during the pandemic, your life changed a whole lot. You went from, you know, running around the Autobahn in Germany to being in your house, and you have a furry roommate, right?
Furry baby. Yeah. Yes, I have a fur baby now. You know, right when the pandemic hit, I slipped back into my old ways, and it's very easy to do that. Another thing that I want to implore is that I'm never going to be lazy. I'm never going to not work. I'm never not going to put my passion and intensity into work. I'm going to make the choice to switch off. I'm choosing to go on vacation. I'm choosing to go play with my fur baby tonight and not send 4 more emails. It's a choice that we are making for ourselves. And so I slipped right back into my old habits right when the pandemic started. And I woke up one Sunday looking at the clock, and it was 8:30 on a Sunday night. And I said, damn, did it again. But the gorgeous thing about even just the acknowledgement that what was going on is that it didn't take me 2 years or 2 months or 2 weeks to figure this out, so that I got sick, I got my cold, I got pneumonia again. It took me a weekend. And I recognized it right away, and I was able to course correct. And that's what this work does. The more you realize it, it's again, it's not going to go away. You're just going to be able to lessen it as time goes on, and you're going to be able to feed other pieces of your life.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, this is so moving. And some of the comments in the chat, Marion Freund is making the point that, it's not only an American thing, but I have to say, and you're right about that, Marion, because in Germany, there are workaholics. But I know in my own career, as I travel internationally, a lot of people in Europe think we Americans are crazy for working the hours. We are rewarded. So, in the news right now, it's so interesting, Mo, maybe you've been reading some of the articles, how, there's some chatter about how the 5-day work week is dead, and that we're moving to, with the pandemic, and we're moving to a hybrid environment, that there's some move to lessen the 40-hour work week. And that bumps right up against this whole workaholism thing. So I'm not convinced that we're giving it up so fast. Like, we didn't get here in a second. I have to say, your stories are bringing me back to, I just want to admit this out loud so that I never do this again. I would remember, like, on a flight from Newark to Hawaii, and calculating how many hours I had to work, and rewarding myself with a 2-hour movie, but I would stay up the entire time and just give myself like a challenge. How much work could I get done in a certain number of time? And if I didn't get that work done, sometimes I didn't watch the movie. I mean, like, what is that? That's workaholism.
It's workaholism, and it's us grading ourselves. It's us judging ourselves on what is good enough. That is a recurring theme in my life since the day I was born. What is good enough? And that's a part of this workaholism, is that it's never good enough. The project that you turn in is not good enough. The amount of hours you work today is not good enough. The amount of emails you sent is not good enough. So you're chasing an invisible clock that you've set to yourself.
Yeah.
You're chasing an invisible line that you can never get to.
I think this is the elephant in the room for a lot of assistants in the world, and where, a lot of assistants are putting in hours that they don't report, and there is no crown at the end of it. And oftentimes there's even no monetary reward. So what is the price we're paying? I just know we need to talk more about this, because as we come out of this pandemic, our whole notion of our work week is being altered. And I'm not so sure everybody's going to be able to pivot very fast. I mean, one of the problems during the pandemic has been that there were no boundaries. It wasn't working from home. It was sleeping at work.
Yeah.
I mean, are you concerned about how we're going to come out of this? And, is workaholism going to get worse, do you suppose?
I don't know. I see the trends on both sides. I do see and hear lots of people talking that the pandemic brought them, especially people like me who are single, who I don't have a family. I don't have anything else that's taking me away, that's saying, "Mommy, come do." I got a fur baby, but she doesn't say "Mommy." She's not telling me or asking me for attention. It is me. And when you have nothing else to put your value in, it is very easy to sink back into that hole. And I also see that this brought to life the joie de vivre of the world. The life is short. The work will not love you back. That at the end of the day, if you're sick and you're in the hospital, work is not the thing that's going to help you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like the memories are just flooding back. There's a term I've been reading about, and Jen tells me it's been around for a while. The YOLO economy, YOLO, you only live once. And there's some HR folks who are talking about that country western song, take this job and shove it. The people who are quitting jobs because they see a better culture at another company. So I think there's a conflict happening in this workplace. And I know that we will all be better served if we expose what these issues are.
Absolutely.
Do you have any final thoughts about this, Mo?
I just want to implore again, this is something that when you learn about yourself and when you learn about your own strengths and your own skill set and what your purpose and your values, and when you can stay true to actually who you are as a human, it is so much easier to put a mirror up and figure out what you're doing to hide. Where are you lying, faking, and hiding? And what do you need to remove that? And it's easier not to overwork when you see your value in your skill set and your strength set and your purpose in life. That is where your value comes from. You have to change your perspective first and foremost.
Yeah.
Understand that your value is elsewhere. And spend some time with your family.
And your title of the blog is still accurate. You're a recovering workaholic.
Recovering.
You're still in the process with it, right?
Absolutely. And I don't think, again, I'll never get out of it. It'll be something that occurs throughout my life because it's something that I have. It's just I'm going to be able to course correct faster, and I'm not going to wait until I get sick.
Right. Well, for those of you who, Jen has put the link to the blog in the chat, and Monique Hellstrom is the former chief of Simon Sinek, who the TED Talk star. The photographs in the blog are just stunning because honestly, Mo, the picture of you in first class barely looks like you. You look so stressed. And Simon took that picture, right? Mm-hmm. He probably wanted to illustrate to you, like, stop.
As I was looking for pictures, I have about 8 of those that he took and sent them to me.
Wow.
It's scary. It's
well,
really scary.
Those of you listening, I hope that you will share this replay with those who need to know, because you know what? Today's a great new day to decide, I'm not going to do that anymore. If this resonates, and it certainly does with me, this blog has helped me. And, I've tried to be better about this over the years, but I'm admitting, I still need to be better. Jen, why don't you put up Becky's comment about Brene Brown? No matter how much I get done or is left undone, at the end of the day, I am enough. I'm enough. Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely was one of those people who thought, well, if I stay till 10 o'clock, I'll get my to-do list done. And then don't you know that, because I thought that would make tomorrow easier, and so many things filled right back up. And then the years go by, 10 years, 15, 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So that's why at BTUA, we talk about, please don't let time run away with you. Time is precious. Time is the new money. Time, we get 168 hours a week. That's it. That's all anybody gets. And we need to make the most of it. My gosh, if there's anything the pandemic has taught us, it's how precious our time is and how precious your health is, right? I've had pneumonia as well. Oh my gosh, so much to say. Listen, if anyone, Monique, you are available to come to corporations and to groups and talk about this subject, yeah?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to bring this out, and I want to tell people my story, and I encourage everyone else to. I encourage you to tell someone what's going on, ask for help. I see myself slipping into this workaholism. Can you help me? Can you tell me when it's when I'm not noticing something's going on. Ask those around you for help.
Yeah. And honestly, I think with the pandemic, we haven't had a better chance to make sure we communicate strongly with our leaders and with HR about what's important, because you know what, they are seeing people burning out and leaving, and the stress and anxiety over the past year and a half have been off the charts. And you know, you mentioned it, mental health problems are severe with certain people, but it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
So everyone, we're so grateful to you, Monique, for being here today and for being so honest about what happened to you. As well as I knew you, until this blog, I didn't really know the enormity of what this was. Although I should have, you know, traveling 200 days a year, that's like wild stuff.
Wild. And I never shared this. I didn't expect you to know this, because I didn't tell anyone. Every time I said that, I said it with a smile, with pride.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel it was harmful with others.
Oh my God. And Adrienne Davis is saying that when she leaves this earth, I will never say I wish I could have spent more time at work. No kidding, Adrienne.
No kidding.
Yeah, we've all heard that saying before, but you know, when you're living it every single day and you're trying so hard to, you know, support your executives and do great work, and be fairly paid for the work we're doing, it's complicated. And that's what this show is all about, is that we are never in the business of saying this career is easy, this workplace is not simple, and we need ways to process all of this complicated stew that is our work life. And that's what I like to think Heads Together is all about. Jen Wilner, thank you for helping us from behind the scenes. And Mo, thank you again. You are welcome here anytime. I hope our audience will share the replay, bring you into their organizations to talk more about workaholism, and it's a matter of life and death, really, and quality of life, certainly. I have an announcement. Next Wednesday will be our final show for 4 weeks. I have chosen, and we made this, Jen and I made this choice several months back, that for 4 weeks between July 15th and August 17th, we're going to take off for Heads Together, that we're going to just not do the show. And we're going to come back on Wednesday, August 18th again. So I hope that you will all enjoy the time. We will be here next Wednesday, though. I wanted to do next Wednesday because next Wednesday is my birthday. And we might have a surprise or two up our sleeves. Not sure yet. I love the idea that Heads Together can be rather spontaneous, but Bonnie Lo Kramen's birthday is next Wednesday, and I'd like to celebrate it with you. I hope that doesn't make me a workaholic working on my birthday, but the next day after that, Robert and I go on vacation to West Florida. If West Florida hopefully is still standing and doing well in the aftermath of the hurricane, please be safe. Please visit betheultimateassistant.com. We still have seats available for Ultimate Assistant in Houston in September, Colorado Springs in November, and certainly for Be the Ultimate Assistant on demand. Vicki Evans and I want nothing more than to support you to do your work better, faster, easier, get paid fairly, and have a life. Have the life that you're wanting to lead with the people you love. So with that, thank you so much for being here. Hope to see you next week on my birthday. Thank you again, Monique Hellstrom.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.